Dungeon Inn is a management and strategy game, whose early access version is being released today, and we've taken a look at this game for that reason. Probably the first assumption that comes to mind when hearing the name of the game Dungeon Inn, and focusing on the word dungeon, is a dungeon-centric work, in which we have to fight against all kinds of enemies. But the creators of this work at the Cat Society Studio have taken a different view of it and have focused more on the word inn, which means inn or inn, to put it better. The idea of the game was formed from the question of what would happen if an inn was located near a dungeon so that people who travel there for adventure could stay there. This idea has led to the creation of a management and strategy style experience in which the gamer must take charge of this inn and do his best to earn more money. The game's story focuses more on a character named Sarah who decides to establish such an inn with her friends, who also have funny characters, including a cat and small creatures called wisps, and to host people who plan to travel to the dungeon. But this seemingly simple task also has behind-the-scenes events. For example, there is a dragon living in this dungeon that you have to pay a certain amount of rent to every month. On the other hand, the travelers who come to this accommodation are from two different cities and, ironically, they are very different from each other, and as a result, you have to work in a way that they do not realize that you are hosting from both sides. These stories are actually tools through which the game's creators have tried to create challenges in Dungeon Inn. But what are these challenges in terms of gameplay? In Dungeon Inn, events take place over a 4-week month, and each week you are given specific tasks such as hosting a certain number of guests, earning a certain amount of money, or even making sure that guests from the two cities don't get into a fight. These goals are in a way that you must complete in order to continue your activity, and if you fail, you won't be able to move forward. And the game allows you to restart your work from any day of the week where you didn't succeed and try again to succeed. There are also a series of side goals available, by completing which you will earn more money or resources to upgrade your inn. To face different challenges and manage the inn as a whole, the game also gives the gamer different tools. Your inn is designed in a two-sided way, with each side dedicated to receiving guests from one of the cities. Most travelers will only enter the inn when you have installed a guest reception sign in front of one of its entrances. But in the meantime, some people have heard of your accommodation for some reason, and intend to stay there even without the sign. This is where the challenge of residents of two cities facing each other in front of the inn is likely to arise, resulting in a conflict between them. In such a scenario, you must make the right decision depending on the goals set. For example, if you need to prevent any conflict, you can use other tools to slow down the speed of people from one side moving towards the inn. These tools include a food truck or a wheel of fortune, which you can place in the path of people, slowing them down, or even stopping them completely for a few turns. By the way, I should also mention that the game is turn-based, and in each turn you can place the tools you want in the desired position, and then move on to the next turn. One of the good features of Dungeon Inn is giving gamers freedom in decision-making. I mentioned that sometimes a goal is set to prevent conflicts between the people of two cities, but in cases where such a goal is not set, you can allow such conflicts to occur and even benefit from them. You just have to be careful that one of the parties wins so that the news of your mutual activities does not leak out too much. For this purpose, you can enter the battles yourself and help one of the parties to ensure their victory. As a result of these battles, you can later sell the items you have collected from the defeated side on the black market and pocket money. Over time, by collecting resources by completing objectives, or paying the dragon that lives in the dungeon on time, you will obtain various resources and you can upgrade your inn. This upgrade can include adding new rooms, and increasing the guest capacity, or even building a restaurant, gym, and the like that will attract more people. And guests may even come to your inn not only to stay but also to taste the dishes that have become quite famous, and as a result, you will earn more money. These upgrades have a good variety, and give more depth to the game. Also, behind all this, Dungeon Inn has a story to tell. At the end of each month and after measuring your performance, this story is displayed in the form of images that may not be very detailed in terms of narrative depth, and could use more work, but it is better to have it than not. But one of the issues that needs to be improved in the final version of Dungeon Inn is the addition of more elements to the gameplay to prevent it from becoming monotonous in the long-term experience. In the first few months of the game, thanks to the novelty of the mechanics, the level of challenge and the overall process feel good, but over time, all of these things, especially the core gameplay, become a bit monotonous, and the developers can add more variety to the game by the time the final version is released, by adding challenges or even more tools, and prevent this monotony. Dungeon Inn has a feel-good and funny atmosphere in terms of design, and the dialogues exchanged between its lovable characters follow the same approach. Overall, Dungeon Inn is more of a fun, enjoyable experience than a difficult and challenging management game, which, at least in its current state, may not be a long-term experience, but it does a good job as a feel-good work. Immersing yourself in the adventures of Sarah and her friends, and managing the inn with simple but fun daily challenges makes this a sweet experience, and if you're a fan of indie games, especially strategy and management games, you won't regret playing it. Strengths: freedom of action in how to face challenges and manage the guesthouse. Funny character and environment design. Various challenges early in the game that give it a good variety. Lovely and fun atmosphere. Weaknesses: gameplay gets a bit repetitive after a while. Story could be more in-depth.
If you like this video, like it now, and become a member of our family by pressing the subscribe button. Activate the bell so you never miss our interesting videos.